Welcome to the 11th Sunday after Pentecost. It's Sunday, August the 4th, 2024. This is the Manna at the Tap podcast, where we as a community actively seek the spiritual nourishment our souls crave. I'm Gloria, your spiritual traveler on this spiritual journey, and together we offer and receive insights and interpretations from the daily lectionary readings, which provide the manna designed to nurture our spiritual growth. The lectionary reading for today continues in John chapter 6. Last week, a crowd was looking for Jesus, and the narrator told us the Passover was close at hand. When Jesus saw them coming towards him, he had it in his mind to feed them. He fed 5,000 men with a child's lunch of 5 barley loaves and 2 fish. The disciples gathered up 12 baskets of leftovers. The crowd wanted to make Jesus a king or a political leader to free them from the Romans, but he slipped away from them. The next day, the crowd needed clarification about where Jesus and his disciples were, and they went looking for them. They trailed around the lake to a new location where they found them. The lectionary text for today is John 6, verses 24 to 35. It is a multi-layer of questions and answers that will ensue between Jesus and the crowd. So let's follow the pattern of Jesus's answers in response to their questions. Verses 25 to 27. The crowd wants to know when Jesus came to the other side of the lake. In response to the question, he told them they were looking for him, not because they saw the signs he performed, but because they were looking for him to provide their next meal. The conversation dissolved into something about working for food that endures for a lifetime. Verses 28 to 29, the crowd wants to know what they can do to work God's work. Jesus' response is not about working, but about believing in the one God has sent. Verses 30 to 33, the crowd asked Jesus for a sign so they could both see it and believe it. They reference their ancestors eating the manna that Moses provided in the wilderness. But Jesus corrected them and let them know it was not Moses who gave the ancestors the bread, but it was his Father who gave them the true bread from heaven, which gives life to the world. Verses 34 and 35. The crowd demanded rather than asked for the bread. Jesus responded, I am the bread of life. Whoever comes to me will never go hungry, and whoever believes in me will never be thirsty. The crowd had questions, and Jesus answered them with information that was of a different kind. The question still remained: who is Jesus in light of what the crowd had experienced? Their questions needed to reflect what had taken place, and an essential element was missing as we listen to Jesus' answers to the questions the crowd raised, and that is, they were not listening. His answers are about who he is and his relationship to the miracles he performed. In response to working, Jesus told them to stop working for food that spoils. Instead, the work of God is to believe in Jesus. To believe is faith in action. God's work results in believing in the one God sent. When one believes in Jesus, one will never be thirsty again. The bread provided by God gives life to the world, and Jesus is the bread of life. Jesus wanted to repair the crowd's faulty understanding of the food in the wilderness. They said the bread their ancestors ate in the wilderness came from Moses. But Jesus told them it came down from heaven and gave life to the world. Bread is the metaphor. Jesus proclaims he is the bread of life. He is the bread that fulfills all our hunger and thirst. He frees us to follow him, not for the bread and fish of a meal, not to achieve self satisfaction, not to get anything in it for us, and not even to attain or maintain peace of mind. Jesus frees us to embrace God's redeeming will to restore the creation and humanity to what God intended. Such faith does not mean separating the spiritual from the physical. It means putting God rather than ourselves at the center of both. When we do that, we can and will expect more. Now, next week, we will continue our journey through John 6 as we discover more truths about who Jesus is.